So it kind of feels to me like we're getting to the point where it is definitely going to break. There's another thing in the book that I think is very helpful. There's a chart by Hirschhorn Capital. And I try to avoid politics of all stripes, okay, because I don't want to offend anyone in Camp Red or Camp Blue. I tend to lean a little more towards red, particularly with respect to Bitcoin. But having said all of that, I think what's going on here is, and I'm very supportive of Doge. The government's got a lot of fat in it. I think what Elon and Vivek originally are trying to do, to a degree, it's a worthwhile thing. However, let's be practical about what can be done. You know, if you look at the federal government, they spent $6.75 trillion in last fiscal year. 80% of that is Social Security, Medicare, interest, and defense. So 20%, 1.3 trillion is all they could go after, and they can't cut it all, obviously. And, you know, the deficit run rate right now is about 2.4 trillion. So, you know, unless you want to reform the entitlements or end all the wars and take defense and the defense footprint back a lot, or you want to get interest rates down lower, which they may have to do. They may have to go to yield curve control to bring interest rates down. I don't see how you balance the budget. I mean, so while I get the excitement over some of the things the administration is doing, and I'm supportive of some of it, I don't think let me say this. I think the problem is too far. I think we're too far gone. I really do. And so the book describes all the various paths, and none of us know with certainty what's going to happen. But, you know, the general conclusion of the book, the reason I titled it The Big Print, is we're in a system that's constructed so that you have to print money to keep the debt burden from collapsing. This is Lynn's "Nothing Stops This Train" meme. And, you know, we had a big print in 2008. We had a bigger print in 2020. There will be another big print. And so, you know, in my opinion, as I said in the book, I feel like I want to stand on a soapbox and scream at the world. You know, we're in a sovereign debt crisis, folks. You've got to protect yourselves from the oncoming inflation because there's going to be more of it.
Can't we keep this going on and have many more prints?
Yes, possibly. But two things about that. One, yes, but they will be inflationary. So you want to be in things that can protect you from inflation because there will be more prints, and they may hold the whole system together. I mean, to be totally honest and fair, I thought it was all over in 08. And of course, they've kicked it at 16 years from 08. So it could be 16 years from now. But I think you can see the trend and where it's going. I think one of the things that's notable is that the prints are getting closer, somewhat closer together, and larger and faster in magnitude. You know, Bernanke printed 3 trillion in 2.5-3 years. You know, Powell printed 5 trillion in 18 months. You know, money supply went up 40% in 2 years. I mean, so you're a working person. You've worked your entire life. You've tried to do the right thing and save your money. And they come along and they devalue all of your years of work by 40% in 2 years. I mean, it's tragic. And so the math, you know, as you see, anyone who plays around with compound functions knows that eventually when you compound something enough, it starts to go vertical. And that's what's kind of going on with the U.S. interest expense right now, if you look at the chart of the U.S. interest expense. So it kind of feels to me like we're getting to the point where it is definitely going to break. There's another thing in the book that I think is very helpful. There's a chart by Hirschhorn Capital where he shows last 100 years, 11 instances of countries that have gotten to 130% debt to GDP. In every single case, they had a currency event, either very high inflation, hyperinflation, or collapse.
Yeah.
And so we're at about 125% GDP. So it kind of feels imminent to me. Now, by imminent, I would say I think this whole thing gets resolved by 2030. So 6 years isn't imminent, but it's, you know, I invest with a 1 to 5 year time frame. So it feels to me like it's coming soon.